We're on. Hello, Facebook. CJ and Tony from Pickleball
Hola,
Therapy
everybody.
Live. How's everyone tonight? We're talking
I'm
pickleball.
amazing. Thank you.
You are amazing. I kind of meant I've been talking to you all day long.
No, no, no.
I meant how is everybody on Facebook and YouTube? How are you doing tonight? Why don't you tell us where you are, uh, where you're watching from? I'm going to check to make sure that we are good to go here. Oh, yeah, as you can hear, we are good to go on Facebook.
And let
Hello.
us know if you have any questions. We're going to answer some questions tonight. Put them in the chat on Facebook. I think it's a chat on Facebook. And then on YouTube, put it in the comment section down there. Let us know where you're from, who you are, what's going on in your part of the neck of the woods. And if you have a question, pickleball related or not, we answer all questions. We answer science questions. We answer whatever you want to talk about. No politics,
Yeah.
maybe probably no religion, but anything else we'll talk about.
I got to tell you, Tony knows a lot of stuff about a lot of stuff. You do. I'm always impressed with what you're into these days.
There's
And
actually
I would
there's
best to.
actually a book, CJ, that I think
Uh-oh.
I think it's written I think it's written more for men in mind. It's basically a mile long and an inch short is the kind of the title, something like that. And it teaches you. I've never read the book, but it teaches you a lot of different things, but very little. So it's just like you know a little bit about art, so you can kind of fake your way through that conversation. A little bit about politics, a little bit of history. It's just a little bit on a lot of different subjects, so you can at least sound like you know what you're talking about when you venture out into a subject. Like I don't dare venture into like Baroque versus neoclassic versus whatever. I like architecture, I like art, but I don't dare venture into that world. So
Okay, so just to let you know, we're here talking about pickleball tonight. I mean, not you. I know
oh,
you're nowhere. I'm just talking about everybody else. I'm CJ Johnson, and I am from the Better Pickleball channel over on YouTube, and I'm one half of VI Pickleball. And you are who?
I am Tony Roy. I am with, you can't see it in the thing, Into Pickle and VI Pickleball with CJ, the other half of VI Pickleball. CJ and I, we're both pickleball instructors, content creators, enthusiasts, and we're just, I get passionate about helping players improve in the game, feel better about themselves playing pickleball, feel better about themselves on and off the court. When most of our viewers, or many of our viewers, are over 50, so we understand that crowd. I can't tell you CJ's age, but I can tell you that I'm over 50. CJ's a little bit over 50 too, and so we basically, we understand the aches and pains of playing pickleball once you're over 50. So we try and bring a holistic approach to this, and we're happy to answer any questions you have about pickleball, paddles, your personal care, balance, mobility. And I told CJ before we got on that at some point I'd like to have a brief conversation about. We're up in Ohio visiting our grandkids, and there's 4 courts right next to us. And I've been walking by the courts in the morning and the evening. I like to kind of see what's going on out there in rec play, and see kind of what players are doing, and so have some thoughts about that I'd like to share. So we're going to get to that at some point. And then I think CJ, do we have a guest tonight?
We do have a guest tonight. Yeah, we have a guest coming in tonight. And this are
Am I
girls.
going to be excited? Am I going to be like, yay,
I,
guest?
I didn't tell you who this was.
But
Oh,
am
okay.
I going to be excited when I see the guest?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, she's really
All right,
good.
all right.
She knows her stuff. I mean, but we try not to hang out. We don't try and hang out. Oh, what was I gonna say? We hang out with people who know their stuff, or at least we try to.
We try to.
We try
That's the
to.
objective.
That is. And as you may see, we have a pickleball summit coming up. It is a free pickleball summit. We have over 30 presenters, June 27th through June 30th. If you haven't seen us the last couple weeks here on Pickleball Therapy Live, we have had Barrett Ketchelo from the Pickleball Kitchen. We've had Jordan Briones and Nicole Havlicek from Primetime Pickleball. We've had Mark Renison stop by and talk to us. He's from Third Shot Sports. How about the incomparable Ms. Deb Harrison? Man, that was fun. She is just, I know you, Tony knows Deb. He's had the chance to interact with her. Tony's in Florida. I'm out on the West Coast. So I have not, that was my first time meeting her. And she is just, she's charming. There's just no other way to say it. She is absolutely charming, besides being a great pickleball player.
Yeah, she's a ball of energy, and she's passionate like CJ and I are about helping folks. And so everybody who's been on, just so much fun to hear their passion and different perspectives. Right, Mark Renison has a perspective. You know, Nicole and Jordan have, you know, Barrett. I mean, everybody kind of has the way they view it. I think at the end of the day, if you boil it down, the fundamentals are either identical or very similar. The fundamental stuff. The difference is, you know, some of the how to get from here to there, how to get from point A to point B, maybe. But at the end of the day, you know, fundamentals are there, and you know, the understanding that with those fundamentals, that's how you can improve. And I think all of the folks that we've talked to, not only in the prior pickleball therapies that we've had, but also the interviews that we've been conducting for the summit, really phenomenal stuff, folks. Really phenomenal stuff. Highly recommend it to you.
It is. You're right. It is absolutely. It's going to be amazing. It just tons of pros and experts, and not everybody's from pickleball. In fact, I talked to somebody today who is half the world away. He's in Brisbane, Australia, and he is a stretching expert. In fact, if you Google stretching, I think he's mentioned 100,000 times on Google. How do you like that? 100,000 times on Google, which is
That's as many as you have, right, on pickleball?
It is. Oh yeah, right. 100,000 times. Yeah, I don't think so.
And CJ, can I show them this? So look at this. So this, you might think this is really weird, right? It looks like I'm going to a 3D movie.
Ooh.
Folks, this is pickleball. You come to the summit, and you're going to find out how these things can help your pickleball game. Blow your mind.
And you know
Blew
what?
my mind.
I have a match. I can't let you look uncool. I gotta look cool too. But boy, I'll tell you, it does interesting things to the screen.
You can only wear them for a few seconds before you. If you're not training, you can only wear them for a few seconds without your eyes going wonky. But when you're training, they're awesome.
So hello, Charm, one of our pickleball VI pickleball members, is over on Facebook. Hello, and we've got Chuck and Frida and Marcus. Marcus said, "Sounds like a great lineup." Marcus, you need to make sure that you join us. Thanks for doing that for the sport. We have been recording all day. I forgot to put the link in the inside of inside of for you to easily get at it. I will work on that. So we are going to take your questions before we have our guests come in, and we are going to be taking your questions and talking a little pickleball. So I'm going to go to work on the link. Now I'm listening to what you're saying while I'm working on the link. And I know you wanted to talk about what you're seeing up there in pickleball. In Ohio in pickleball. So why don't you
pickleball world.
Pickleball world. So why don't you talk about what you're seeing while I work on this link stuff, okay? In fact, is it okay? I'm gonna give you the whole screen. Are you okay with that?
Oh no. That's a lot of pressure. All right.
Okay. Do you want to? Well, if you want me to stay like this, I'm just gonna be with my head down. But okay.
No. I'm
right.
kidding.
Okay. All right.
CJ knows me better than that. I don't mind having the whole screen. So
maybe,
I'm going to say hi to.
Maybe I won't give you the whole screen.
Oh, maybe she won't. All right. Well, let me say hi to some people while you're. There you go. So we got Dennis, David, Lynn, Sandy, Shan, Carol, Jenny, and Jenny, all from all over the place. Arkansas, Annapolis. Whoa, I'm moving around there. And San Diego, Olathe, I guess. Kansas, cool. Chicago, very nice. So hello, everybody. And what I wanted to chat with you all about, and Jenny, I'll get to your question. It's a good question. I'll give it in a second. So Lynn, what's going on, Lynn? Georgia, Florida line. I love it. So what I wanted to talk to you all about was I've been watching the some rec play out at the courts near where our family lives up in Ohio, up in Columbus. And, obviously exciting to see the continuing growth of sport, folks waiting to play, people mixing around and playing it. It's a lot of fun out there. Really good, really fun pickleball out there. But what I've noticed is, I still see two areas that are really, really important for pickleball players to improve, or areas that pickleball players could improve in that would really elevate their game. The first one is getting up to the non-volley zone line on a return or serve. I still see, just high percentage of players that aren't making it all the way up to the non-volley zone line after they return serve. Really important to note, we're talking about on return of serve. So the minute you return serve, no dilly-dallying, folks, no waiting around, no trying to play from the baseline. And a lot of times people come from tennis and they want to play it like tennis. This is not tennis. So as soon as you return, you get up to the non-volley zone line on the return side. The other thing I've noticed is, it's at the higher levels, I guess, we play a softer game. So we play more of a dinking game, more of a movement game and things like that. It looks like in rec play, or not looks like, in rec play, the game is faster. It's harder. There's a lot more fast exchanges and things like that. So if there's two skills that I'd suggest that you could add to your game that would really help you elevate your game is first would be a block volley. A block volley is basically where you put your paddle out in front of you like this. On the backhand side, the forehand side, you just put it out like this, and you just basically hold that paddle relatively still, with firm enough that you can receive the pace. And then all you're trying to do is absorb the energy and reset the ball back slowly.
Ooh. Okay, Tony froze, so I'm back. He was talking about resetting and bringing it back slowly. So I think we still are going fine live. But he was talking about getting up to the non-volley zone. That part I heard. And he was talking about the need for I believe for a block volley. I'm going to let him talk about that when he comes back in. But I do want to go back and I want to talk about the non-volley zone, getting to the non-volley zone. There's so many people that we see that do not get up to the non-volley zone. Even people who think they are, they're well short of the non-volley zone. So one of the best ways to do that is to put a camera on yourself. Just put it, you probably have one of these sitting in your pocket, put it over on the table, put a camera on yourself and see, are you really getting to the non-volley zone? We watch a ton of tape and a ton of video, and even at the 4.0 levels, there's a lot of people that are away from the non-volley zone. Now, there are some reasons at certain times to back up just a little bit. It gives you a little bit more time. But what we notice in play at that level is people get there and then they start to back up and give it away. And meaning give it away. They allow new angles to come in and things like that. And that's not good for your pickleball game. So make sure you get up to the non-volley zone. I'm going to see if I can get my partner in crime back in here. Let's see. Oh, how did? All righty. There we go. Good. Are you in, Tony? I'm thinking I gave... Tony, can you hear me? Yeah, let's see. I'm going to bring you back in. There we go.
Hey, guys. Sorry about that. Not sure where. Do you remember where I dropped off, CJ? Or
well, I picked it up and I started talking about people who were coming in at the who came into the non-volley zone line and then gave it up. And you were talking about the punch volley. I didn't want to take the wind out of your sails, so you go ahead and you talk about the punch volley. You talk about the punch volley.
Appreciate that. So basically, what we're talking about actually was the block volley that I was talking about, but similar concept. But what I'm talking about is when you're in a firefight. So you have this firefight going on. You have a back and forth battle going on up at the non-volley zone line in particular, where balls are just coming really fast. If you can learn to slow the game down, that's the first step. Second step is to let the balls go. So when somebody's going to attack you and the ball's going to come up around your chest or higher, you hear shoulder high, let it fly. Anything around your rib cage and higher, if it's coming hard and they're hitting low to high, let that ball go. If you let that ball go, you're going to basically diffuse the ability of your opponent to bang hard with you. The way to think about it is, unless you're the hardest hitter on your court, unless you're the player that can dominate others with power, probably not the strategy you want to implement. Probably not the strategy that you want to adopt is to try and overpower your opponents. So if you can't overpower the opponents, then maybe what you can do is you can slow it down and then let the ball go. Once the ball gets hit hard at you from low to high, again, up at your ribs or shoulders, let that ball go. those two skills, softening the game or slowing the game down and letting out balls go, can really, really elevate your game.
Yeah, and then my microphone is off. Here I'm talking to you and my microphone is off. Anyway. Wow, we're just having a ton of tech problems this evening. But I think we're working to get them all resolved. Um, we have got our guest who's trying to come on, and I'm trying to get Tony back here. But what I was talking about was letting ball go, making sure that you let a ball go. And one of the things that we teach is when somebody drives, you hit your block volley. If they drive a second time, if they drive to you a second time, step away, let it go. What you'll notice that happens a lot of times is the ball is going to fly out, especially like shoulder high. It's going to keep going. So we've got our guest on. There we go. Now we got Tony coming back. All right. Okay. We're gonna see if we can get you. You changed rooms.
We had to change locale.
You had to change locales.
Do what you got to do.
Okay, all right. Well, I was tap dancing again. I was talking about letting out balls go, and I was specifically talking about when somebody drove a ball. You talked about the block volley, hit the block volley, and then a lot of times that second ball, if somebody drives it again, is going to be out if you step out of the way. So I'm going to bring you, you're back in. It's yours for a moment. Well, I finished bringing our guest in, so you finish up.
You got it. So sorry everybody for the difficulty with the internet. It happens. I have a couple questions here I want to answer. I think I tied up pretty well what I wanted to get to about basically dealing with hard shots and hard exchanges, basically slowing it down. So one of the questions here, I saw that Lynn said, doesn't that depend how tall you are? Perhaps, but I think that's in the margins. We've talked about that before, Lynn. I've known you for a while now, so that's one of those things that's on the margins in terms of really focusing or getting down into like, are you 5'8" or 5'6"? I mean, I think anything that is pretty much rib high, if they're hitting from low to high, I'd let that ball go. Let's see here. There's an earlier question from Jenny. I don't want to forget about it. What did Jenny say? What is the name of the book you've talked about for mental game of tennis? Jenny, that book is called Mental and Emotional Training. It's called Mental and Emotional Training, Compete, Learn, Honor. It's by Coach Peter Scales. Get on Amazon. It's an amazing book. He's going to be one of our speakers at the summit. It's going to be a really interesting conversation. If you also want to hear our conversation with him, you can listen to our Pickleball Therapy podcast. This is Pickleball Therapy Live that we're doing on YouTube and Facebook. If you listen to Pickleball Therapy podcast on iTunes or on any service that you listen to podcasts, actually, Lynn, if you're still on here, I know Lynn listens to the podcast. Maybe write a comment on it and see what your experience has been listening to it, and maybe folks can listen to it. Episode 9 on is the episode where I interviewed Coach Pete. Let's see here. What is the summit? I'm going to let Sandy, thanks for the question. I'm going to let CJ answer that. She is going to answer that in a minute when she comes back on before we get our guest on. And then let's see here. Margaret, I tend to hit a hard slice return that is deep, which causes problems for my opponents. So I like doing this. Because this ball is so fast coming back to me, I tend only to make it to mid-court. Margaret, what I would suggest there is it's more important to be up at the non-volley zone line than it is to create difficulties for your opponents. If you're playing an opponent that's at your level that can hit a hard ball back at you, because that's what I would do, all I'm going to do is your drive is not going to be as difficult for me, because all I'm going to do is hit it flat back, and then that's going to pin you back, and you don't want that. So I would recommend. Thank you, Jill, setting me up here with a setup. Thank you, Jill. Let's see here. Dennis, should I try shots that I may not be good at in every match, regardless of the match outcome? A pickleball buddy says that this is how I will get better. I am a 3.5 player. Yes, Dennis, the answer to your question is yes. Basically, look at practice as practice, and then game time. If you're playing tournaments or playing, say like competitive, I'm fine, Jill, thank you. Thank you. A competitive matches against other, in a competitive setting, like a league or something, team league or ladder league, then maybe, go into your tournament mode. But otherwise, yes. Let's see here. Carol wants to know, where can we find the Facebook Live? Carol, you're seeing the same feed here as in the Facebook Live, but the Facebook Live is at the VI Pickleball page. So VIP, like VIP, VI Pickleball Facebook page. And then Lynn says, head high, let it fly. No, Lynn, I'm saying rib high. I'm saying rib. So like start at the floating ribs down here. Start working up from there. Anything from there, I'd let it go. Make them show you that they can hit that ball in. If they can hit the ball in, then you make adjustments, right? But normally, particularly when the driving ball is up near the non-volley zone line, so they're up near we'll just call it the kitchen for a sec, there you want to let those balls go. Margaret, some of the men I play with have heavy topspin and their low to high balls don't go out. I have let those chest high balls go, and they end up being. Two things I'm going to say about that. One, you may have to make an adjustment, right? If you're playing somebody who can do that consistently, you may make an adjustment. But the second thing is, you are 100% guaranteed that if you let balls go, some balls are going to land in. You're not going to be always right when you let the balls go. So you cannot evaluate the success, or not the correctness of the decision you're making based on where the ball landed. You have to make it based on the decision, on the information, that you have at the time that you make your decision. CJ, can I get to one more question, and then we'll get to the summit question and the guest? Is that okay? Can't hear you, CJ. I'm going to assume that's a yes. Has anyone heard anything about
it? Wasn't.
Oh, it's one more question from Andrew.
I was going to say, why don't we let our guest answer that question? Because I'm going to ask her about the outballs too. Is it a good one for her?
Yeah, but this okay. Well, this one has to do with a ball. So has anyone heard anything about a new ball? All right, Andrew, we'll answer that one after our guest comes on. And if anybody wants to answer it in the comments, that's perfectly fine. CJ, I know we have the guest coming on. We're going to bring her in, but can we quickly answer the question? And I'm trying to see who asked it, from Sandy. What is the summit? Can you give her a brief little, what is the summit?
What is the summit? It is I'm telling you, the hottest ticket in pickleball. It's year 2 of the Pickleball Summit, and this year we have over 30 presenters. It's June 27th through June 30th, and it is a who's who list of pickleball players, teachers, coaches, as well as experts from outside of the sport of pickleball that can help us to play better pickleball. And we have one of those people on here with us tonight. So before I bring her on, if you want to join us on the summit, as I said, it's free. I have put links in both Facebook as well as on YouTube. So click those links, sign up, and we're going to see you at the summit. So I'm going to bring this gal in. She is not only player extraordinaire, she's coach extraordinaire. And she's been on the Better Pickleball channel a couple of different times, been on the court with her. She is an amazing person. I would love to bring in here the incredible and incomparable Hella Spar. Hella, welcome to,
Thank
welcome
you.
to, how are you? You're in Arizona. How are things in Arizona?
Very hot, but I'm surviving. No, it's
Well,
great. Thanks for having me. I look forward to it.
it's always great to have you. Hella, just there may be some members of our audience that are not familiar with you. Why don't you give us a little bit of your background so that we can get to know you?
Yeah, I come from tennis. I play tennis and professional tennis. So I've and taught tennis for like 30, 40 years. So I've been teaching and playing tennis for most of my life. And then I stumbled on pickleball about 5 years ago. And it has just become my new love and my new addiction. And I absolutely love everything about it and keep learning. And I love teaching people or passing on to people what I have found so fascinating about this game.
Awesome. Tony, let's bring her into the conversation. We were talking about outballs.
Helen, first of all,
About
how are
what?
you? Tony here. Good to see you.
Hi, Tony.
First of all, I love your videos. I love your content is fantastic. Your concepts on angles are amazing. I really appreciate everything you do for the pickleball community and for growing the sport and growing the understanding of the sport. So thank you very much for all of that work. One of the questions we had, Helle, here was, well, one of the things we were talking about was outballs, right? I was explaining to the folks that watching some rec play here, and we're visiting our grandchildren in Ohio, and watching some of the rec play here, noticing, how like players in rec play want to go hard, right? They want to go fast and live on the ball. And so I was explaining that one of the skills, two skills that I suggested you could acquire if you wanted to dominate, or not dominate, but if you wanted to improve your chances in rec play, were one, softening the game, slowing it down with a nice block volley situation, and then a high ball. And I was suggesting ribs or higher, starting with the ribs and moving up from there, especially a ball hit low, that you then at that point let that ball go out. So we'd love to hear your thoughts on, how do you approach the idea of slowing the game down from a firefight, and maybe some outballs, if you don't mind sharing that with the folks.
Yeah, I mean, I still have my partner screaming in my ear, "No, it's out." And Larry will laugh at that. That's Larry Moon because he's played a lot longer than I have, and I've taken lots of out balls in our time together. But I'm learning because in tennis, shoulder height was or face height was forehand, and belly button balls were backhand, and I learned to take all of them because the court was so much bigger. So that was one of the things I've had to really learn. So also my posture has changed a little bit. I stand up a little more upright when I see it coming, whereas in tennis I would be more bent down and crouched over. Well, when I'm down, crouched over, I can't get out of the way because my eyes are in the way or in the flight of the ball. And then in order not to get hit, I take it with a paddle and I hit them. So I kind of stand a little bit more upright, maybe like a Dave Weinbach. I'm kind of learning to do that. So belly button shots are backhands to block back. And then anything coming up towards my head or shoulders, I bob and weave and try to let it go. But I kind of have a little bit more time because I'm not in the flight of the ball so much with my face. So that has been a big adjustment I have made.
Awesome. What about your keys on, we're talking about block volleys and softening the ball a little bit. What are some of the things that you like to teach for that player who is just starting to experiment with softening the ball? What are some of the things that they can do?
Well, I kind of come a little bit from a different perspective. Imagine that. Um, because if I'm at the kitchen line and somebody's trying to intimidate me with a hard shot and to kind of take me over, I like to not soften it, but block it back with a punch, volley, hard. And I see all the higher pros now doing that too, because if they try to soften that, um, then they just get another drive, or you give an invitation for people to come in. So I think that's the wrong one to learn to soften. I think being a target up there at the line and they're going to hit hard, I get my arms way out in front. I favor a backhand and I counter punch it like a quick jab. I want the ball down. I don't want to change direction. But if I soften it too much, it tends to pop up. or not go over the net. So I go power on power and say, bring it on. And then, like I just heard before I got on here, the second shot they drive is out. So if I can survive the first one, I don't need to soften it. I think it's too difficult. When you get to be the 5.5 or 5.65, 6.0 players, you can start doing it. But as a rec player and you're at the kitchen line, I think mentally you want to show them, I'm not afraid. I want to lean in and I want to block that ball with as perpendicular of a paddle face as possible. Start a little higher and get the ball kind of down into the court so you don't miss it. So I don't want to pop it up. I don't want to change direction. And I don't need to hit it deep. I just want the bounce. It has to bounce, because if I hit it deep or it pops up, they continue with a volley, then we're screwed, so to speak. So it needs to bounce, but it doesn't need to be soft. I think that comes later when you practice softening. I think the softening should come from the serving team. They're the ones who can mix up the pace, but you give me the kitchen line and I'm the returning team, I'm going offense. I'm not the one instigating the soft game. So there I'm totally really strong on that right now.
And to be clear, Helle, you're talking about what you're going to be doing is you're not trying to hit I mean, if you hit a winner, you hit a winner, but you're not looking for a winner volley. You're looking for basically a firm, short, sort of a punch volley, but a short swing, little pop on it, kind of Dave Weinbach style, like you mentioned, kind of like a little pop. And then if they're going to drive a second one, then you're going to get out of the way of the second one, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to miss it, but if I go soft, then my hands are in closer to my body and I'm kind of eating it. And if you're an average player, a rec player, that ball is going to pop up because you're not strong, good enough at this point to soften it with a drop volley. So the first defensive shot on a hard ball coming at you is go right back hard and try to get it down. Do not, like, when I hit it hard at somebody, what I expect is for them to pop it up or miss it altogether or change direction. So to counter that, I don't change direction. I get the ball down in the court quickly, but I don't try to soften it. I just try to not miss it. I'm under attack and I don't want to miss it under attack. And I really shield myself with a backhand, not the way I see some people stand like this, but I have my angle kind of like my paddle angled at maybe 11, 10 o'clock. So when the ball comes, then I can go perpendicular, parallel to the ball or to the net, and then have it high enough where the punch is high to low. And from tennis, that's a stick volley. And it just is crisp. It has a slight underspin maybe to it, but the paddle is perpendicular. It's not really open, but it does have a high to low cut, but it's very aggressive, and I'm not trying to soften it. I'm just trying not to give them what they want, which is a pop-up or a total miss or change of direction. Then as I get better at that, I slowly angle my paddle maybe 10, 15 degree to get it to misdirect slightly so it doesn't go right back to the person that it came from. Maybe I can change it and direct it to the weaker player or away from them, but that's not my first thought. I'm under attack. I don't want to miss it.
Great stuff. CJ, you're muted.
Sorry, trying to keep my volume out of here and my typing out of here. Got a question coming in from Facebook, and it's from Martha Roper. Martha is one of our VI Pickleball members, and of course, Helle has dynamite doubles, and that's a concept. She's going to tell you about it in a little bit, but that's a concept that she brought with her from tennis. That was originated in tennis, and now she's modified it for pickleball. So now, what Martha wants to know is, who should be the captain of the team, and why should there be a captain?
Personalities, you kind of like to have a leader. If you go into war with two leaders, they're eventually going to probably kill each other. So we have to have somebody that can make decisions and one that one that's willing to follow. And there will be somebody who likes to do all the talking with the referee. There will be somebody who's more likely to do the talking with the opponent. So I think it's important to have a spokesman, and and then there can be, and if that also is the one that has a strategy, that can be happening too. But we definitely have to have somebody that is looking for the strategy. But after a while, you get on the same page, and you might have both ideas of come in with input of what are we going to do here. But I think it's really good to have somebody who's the the spokesman, and then somebody that's a pretty much little more quiet, maybe a little more. It doesn't matter who is who, but I think you need to have somebody that that speaks for the team. And sometimes I do it, sometimes my partner does it. We don't always discuss it. It's just kind of a thing that happens as you go along, but you can certainly talk about it. And as far as strategy goes, I'd love to be able to talk about strategy, but if I don't know my partner, I have to be careful about coming in with my great ideas before I know that they're open to it. So that all that happens at the coffee table beforehand, or at rec games, or practice games, when you sit and talk and chat and say, how do you like to get information? How should we communicate when we need to take a timeout? What do we need to do? Who's going to do the timeout? Can any of us do it? What do you like? How do you like to have situations dealt with? Because we all are different, and I think it's really important for me to express what I need when I'm getting squirrely. I may not need them in my face. I may need some space, or I may need just to smile and say it's going to be okay. But if I don't tell that to my partner, then I might be missing something that they would really like to help, but they don't know what to do. But the captain is more or less somebody that kind of just take the reins, and you go to war, and you both become really a strong team with a spokesman out there. So I think that answers that the best I can.
Awesome. I've got another question over on Facebook. I don't know if you can jump in with the next one from YouTube.
I got a quick little, it's more of a comment, but I wanted to
All
share
right.
it with Helly.
You go
It's
ahead.
from Jenny. She says, I love your team concept for pickleball. You've worked with my coach, John Levy, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, and he has passed your great knowledge on to me. So some love coming to you, Helly, from Jenny.
That's great. Thank you. Yeah, John played, he just told me he's played for like 10 years or maybe more, but he said the last 2 or 3 years when we've been together, he's just changed his whole game, and he's now passing it on, and we've become great buddies. So he was the one actually who, the first time I played, he's a lefty and he's serving, and I'm in the left side, and he says, Helle, you take all middle balls. And I'm looking at him because first of all, I'm the woman, but I'm playing the left side, and he's serving, and I'm expecting balls are going to come down to him in the middle deep, and that gives me a chance to move forward so I can be the poacher. Now he's telling me to be the take every middle ball. So I thought there's something weird with this game, because in tennis that wouldn't be. It's like I can take it if I want to. It's not mine by definition. So I started using my dynamite doubles from tennis and compared it into pickleball, and it held true. And the same strategy works so well for pickleball. And I'm sharing that now with others, and it becomes quite a bulletproof system of how to defend the court. So if you want to take it as the block, or the little V, I call it, if you're in front of the ball, but it's not mine by definition when my partner is serving. The server has the bigger court to cover because they are diagonally from the ball, and they have more angles to cover. I can take it if I choose to, but don't tell me it's mine, because I'm busy moving forward to try and be the poacher while they're trying to keep him back. So thanks
So
for
Helly,
that question.
it sounds like we have John to thank, in part anyway, for dynamite doubles coming up from tennis to pickleball. You're like, wait a minute, there's something from tennis that might work
No,
here. So I think CJ's got a question for you from Facebook, I think.
Exactly.
I do have some questions for coming to you from Facebook. So, one of the things, so there's a lot of conversation going on about lobbing on Facebook. A couple of people got beat by the lob today. Hot and humid, beat by the lob. So, Helen, take a couple minutes and, you see the lob a lot in rec play, and talk a little bit about covering the lob and how the team should move. What are some effective things that people can do?
Yeah, there's a defensive lob and there's an offensive lob. So I assume these would be offensive lobs if you're caught by surprise, right? So sometimes, yeah, if it's a total surprise, the diagonal player from the ball is always what I call the workhorse and should look for the lob. They are the ones who are farther away from where the lob came, and they have a little bit more time to run it down. They definitely need to run it down if it's over their partner. And if it's over their own head, they should try and take it in the air, but it's difficult, especially if the lob comes from a dink. So then they have to run back themselves and get it. If you if you want to, I can show it on my board if you're up for that. But I think the the lob is the first time you might be saying, well, good shot, and then you remember who did it and where it came from, and then how am I going to get it next time? And it's better to let a lob bounce because you have until the second bounce to go get it just before the second bounce. Before it dies. And that way you have a chance of hitting a better shot than a poor overhead if the lob came from the kitchen. If the lob comes from the baseline, you want to take it out of the air. There's no lob from the baseline that should bounce. You should have enough time when you're at the kitchen line to take that out of the air because you're in offense up there. And once you let it bounce, you're in defense. So when the lob is offensive and it comes from as a surprise from the no kitchen zone because we're dinking and all of a sudden here comes that lob, yes, we're better off running it back. And I kind of like to run it back in the form of a heart. So if it's right over my head, don't turn around and run straight back. It will hit you in the top of the head. But if the bounce is going to be behind my head, then I run either, I can't do the other, this way or this way back. So you run kind of in a J shape or a heart, half of a heart shape back, and you get out of the way so you don't get hit, and you focus on where the second bounce is going to be. Now, when we're rec players and you run back, you're not running backwards, you're turning around, running forward, back in the court. And when you get to that ball, your best shot is to lob it back. That way you don't miss
CJ,
it. And then you, what?
Sorry, Helen. CJ, I was going to say, if Helen's got her board handy, I'm voting for the board. I love Helen's board and the explanations if it's right there. Can I vote for that, CJ?
It can be right here.
Absolutely. If it's right there, you go.
Oh, we got Helen's board. All right, let's do this.
Is it right here?
That's good.
All right, thanks for interrupting, Tony. That's good. Yeah, so if we're saying we're up here dinking along, right? And then all of a sudden this player here lobs it back here. Now red has to run back and get it. That's the first bounce. So the second bounce will be back here. So now you might say green should run and get it because it's their forehand. The ball came from right here. Green is responsible for that area of the court because if they can lob it, they can also rip it. Okay? So the rip, this person is responsible for. They can't be thinking lob. They're thinking about, I might be eating a ball in my face right now. So they are just ready like a wall, like a mountain with their paddle up, stoic, strong, and say, bring it on. And then they're going to go hard back. If they're half thinking of running down a lob, they're not going to be as mountainous and as sturdy to block that ball back that this person may. You have to be thinking of all the options red has. I can tell you, if they can lob offensively, they have all shots possible in the book. One of them being a hard shot right at green. So red is farther away. So that red is facing the ball, and red is ready for the rip in the middle, a dink really wide, and the lob, all three. So that's how I divide it up. It's not 50-50, so it's kind of 1/3 to 2/3. Now, if the lob does come, I go, darn it, because I hate this run, but I'm gonna have to do it. Now, if I'm right-handed, I would run this way. So back to the spot. So first of all, I get out of the way. I'm turning and facing that way. You turn around and you start running. So you make a turn, and if you have, I've showed it on the court. The two players are standing here. And I say go. This player goes, and this player goes. Red is ahead of green. Red has a jump start. So red gets to that shot quicker than green. Red is farther away, and red is already facing that way. They're facing this way because of the cross-court slant. So I'm already here with my left foot, and then I turn around and I run, and that way I get a forehand. Now, if I'm lefty, I might want to run this way, but if there's a fence, I can't go that way. Then it would be this way, and it's a backhand. We need to think about where the second bounce is and how much time we have to run that lob down. So we got to get back there, get behind the ball, and dig that out. And then the best shot, since I'm way back there, I don't want to run up for another drop. The best shot is a lob, because when you lob it really high, this is a defensive lob that comes off the offensive lob from this team. And this player goes back. Now, if you lob it really high, and this team has to hit it from here, from this area. Remember, defensive lobs, they're always in. You're actually living for one more shot. You don't want to hit it back to the baseline. You're going to hit it out. So you're giving them an overhead smash. But you're both back there. And for the ball to be in, it has to be in front of you. So if you hit that lob to here, and you're back here, the lob, the overhead will bounce somewhere in the court in front of you, and you have to the second bounce to get it. And now you're trying to reset that ball back into the kitchen and build your way back up again. So often, offensive lob, you hit a defensive lob. I don't like, when I'm way back there, to have to hit a drop in the kitchen and then leave my partner all alone up here. We are not going to win that point. So the lob high, I get to be, it's not that I do it every time, but that's my number one go-to shot, is the high lob back. Sometimes if I'm in better position, it wasn't so deep maybe, and I'm only here, I can do more of a drop into the kitchen. I can sometimes even drive it, but I need to be ready for the consequences. This is a defensive shot, and do not make any mistakes from defense. When you're in trouble, get the ball in, so they have to hit one more ball. They might miss it. Nobody is 100%, even on an easy put away. Sometimes they miss it. And if they try to go soft and they miss it in the net, then you get the last laugh. If they hit a decent overhead, it will bounce in front of you, and you will have a choice of either driving or dropping, or may have to lob one more if you're totally out of position. If the next overhead was over here, maybe he needs to lob it to get back in position again. Because from defense, when you lob it, they will have to hit it, and you will be able to get it before the second bounce. That's something to think about when you're in defense, how much time you have to get it. Getting to the kitchen line is not important when you're in defense. Getting the ball over is.
I love
just
that defensive concept, Hella. And sorry, CJ, to interrupt you, but I love that defensive lob concept. And CJ, if we
Thank
can
you.
organize it, I'd love to have like I don't have my board here with me today, right? But if I could have my board, Hella has her board, and we just go pop, 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 and just move stuff around the board, it'd be awesome.
I know Tony loves the board. I just want to make sure that we got a follow-up question coming from Leon. He just wants to clarify: does the front partner, so in this case the partner who was in blue, does that partner go back as well?
Yeah. You stand here, same scenario, lob comes. He's going to look at his partner. Now, if the partner takes 2 steps back and can reach it with an overhead, then he can stay. Where should he hit this overhead? Back in front, especially if he's in trouble. Hit it back in front towards the kitchen, in front of green, so green is in the right place. If he hits it here and this guy hits it back down the middle, you have left it open. But if he can get it, like if I can get that and I could slice it out here, like soft slice right here, like with a little bit of a curve, it's worth taking it out of the air. Then we stay. And as soon as I've hit this, I'm back up at the line again. But let's say it did bounce. Once green sees that I'm letting the ball bounce, I don't want him to stand up there because it's too much pressure on me to have to hit a perfect drop here, where green is safe. If I hit any shot to green here or to red on a volley, this guy is in trouble. So to help this guy, go back, eliminate the gap between you, and live for one more shot. Now, if he goes back here and now hits a drop, and they hit a drop, well, maybe they should have lobbed it. Because if you do hit a good drop, we need to be coming forward again. So the highest percentage when you're in real trouble is just lob it back, make them hit the overhead and play for one more shot. The drops are good if you're back quick enough and you're in position, but please drop it in front of your partner who's not as far back as you. So this player's here and he wants to drop it there. Do not drop it here. That creates the gap between you, which I call the WWW, wrong way Wanda. And that is what my whole system is about, protecting against that bad hole. And I see that a lot. People say, oh, I'm going to hit to green's backhand. Well, green is standing now here with all sorts of holes and options. And this is not an ideal position when the ball is here. Ball is here, great position, even though they're not straight together. I never want you to be straight together like this, except when we're at the kitchen, we can be even, except one person is always slightly slanted, the one who's diagonal from the ball. So one player is like this, and one player is slightly slanted, which gives you a double door in the middle. So this player can hit that with a backhand right there and it goes back here. Or green can take it earlier with a forehand and it goes right here. No change of direction. When we're standing like this, one square to the ball and one diagonal, we better make sure we want to change direction. That gives us time to then have the reverse happen. If the ball goes here, then this player is straight ahead and this player now takes the lob in the middle and the angle. So every time you change direction, your defense changes. And that's the fun part of taking other teams apart, because they don't know this or play like this, but we do. So we have double coverage in the middle. We don't ever get beat in the middle so much anymore anyway, but we try to exploit the others, because if they give us wrong way Wanda, we are home free.
Hella, that's amazing stuff, and that double coverage in the middle is really phenomenal stuff. And I'm gonna tell you, CJ knows that I wish we had another hour to go over especially the thing about the players staying up and all that stuff is just, it's so phenomenal to hear all this and to learn all this. I have one more question, CJ, and I think we have to wrap it up after that, if that's okay. So Margaret asked a question. Helen, I'm going to take a stab at it, and then you correct me if I'm wrong, please. So it's what if they return your defensive lob back by hitting the ball with a sharp angle off the kitchen? So I'm going to say two things about that, the way I see it. One is you're trying to live for another day. If they hit a fantastic ESPN highlight shot, they hit a fantastic ESPN highlight shot. That's life. You're making their life as difficult as possible. If they hit an amazing shot, they clear the net and hit a winner, that's life. But Hella showed you earlier, and you can watch it again. You know, this will be available on YouTube. You can watch it again, at least for another 24 hours. But basically, that angle shot that she showed, where the player, I think it was the green player, went off the court and then basically lobbed it again, right? The idea is what you're trying to do here is just stay alive and stay alive. And you're making the best of a bad situation. Is that fair, Hella, there, that summary?
Very much so. And the thing is, I will challenge most rec players have never seen the second bounce because they've been told to run forward at any cost. People hit an overhead, they run forward into the ball, and they never see how much time they have. So here's a rec player. You hit this lob, now you come running in like this, and here's the sharp angle that beats you, right? Everybody's nodding. Well, if you'd stayed back, that ball, you will catch it before it hits the second bounce. You have to learn how to play defense. I come from tennis. The court is humongous. You watch the French Open these days on this clay. You have a day and a half to go to run these balls down, and you cover all this territory. And pickleballers have been told to play in this little spot here. We play so much out of the lines when a team is in offense and we're in defense. And that happens when the point begins. So as a server, if you're not in such a hurry to get forward, you will be able to take some of these sharp angles much easier. And if the lob is high enough, like I said, aim here. That's a good area. So that makes them go one step back at least. Don't aim in the kitchen. So aim it really, really high. There's no way they can have a short, sharp angle for a winner. The higher you hit it, the more that ball will bounce up and thus give you more time before the second bounce to live for one more shot. That's the whole point of it.
Yeah, that's really helpful, Hella. That's yeah. And listen, you know, that second bounce thing, I really appreciate that. That's just the time that we have to play. It's really amazing. And CJ, are there any more questions on your end? That's just amazing information, I think.
You know what? That is, I gotta tell you, it's the same thing. Every time I've had Hella on, like, we could go for hours because it's just, I see you and I shaking our head, and then the questions come up because so much of what we learn on the courts, which a lot of that comes from other people, is not real accurate. and I love the way you take it and you break it down and show all the openings. And when people see the openings, they go, ah, yeah, now I understand why I'm getting beat. So Hella, yeah, people are, I'm putting links. If you want to hear more, Hella is going to be on the summit. And again, it's a free summit. I put the link in Facebook. I'm going to put it back in YouTube one more time. But while we wrap this up, Hella, tell us where people can find you.
Well, my name at gmail.com is always good. So that's an email. Then I have the doublescourse.com is where my course is available online. And I've heard it's a fantastic course. I haven't watched the whole thing because I really can't stand watching me. I know when I filmed it, I was happy with what I did, but as far as watching it, but I've heard people really like it. And it's like a high college course put together. Of course, I wouldn't know anything about that either. So for you guys who are critical and are not sure, I think it's very high caliber. And then my regular website is dynamitedoubles.com. And it's not as active right now, but the doubles course is, and there's a free masterclass there on the third shot options that you can take. And then by taking that, you register, and then you'll have a chance to buy it. But it's really well worth it. And then you have all these clips that I teach on that course that you can go back to over and over again, because it takes a little while. I mean, I've done this for, I'm going to be 65. I've done this for 40 years. um, yeah, and so I live and breathe this. I see it so clearly, and I just try to convey to you what I see. And I see the court from above when I play. It's like a bird's eye. I'm like flying up there while I'm playing here, and that's what makes it so fascinating. So I'm trying to teach you having another set of eyes above the court that because the opponents see those openings, and if you see them, maybe. You will start hitting better shots that don't get you so vulnerable.
There we go.
That's great stuff. CJ, two quick questions, housekeeping questions, real quick. Lynn asked whether this content will be available to be seen in the future. The answer is on YouTube for a little bit longer, and then inside VI Pickleball, if you're a VI Pickleball member, it goes into the library. Correct, CJ?
Mm-hmm. It's on.
Okay, so
It's
it'll be in the library,
it's,
and then
no, in the community. It's in the community. You can
in the
watch
community.
it.
I'm
You
sorry,
can
but
watch
I know
it
it's in
live
there.
in the
So
community. Yep.
if you're in the community and VI Pickleball, it's there. And the other place, the other question that we got asked was, do you get to watch the summit after the summit? There's two ways you can do that. But if you're a VI Pickleball member, you already get it. So yes. So
And and again, the summit it's a free summit. The link is down there, but you know what? You aren't going to see it this year if you don't click the link. So we're not doing it like we did last year on YouTube. You have to click that link and you must register. And if you want to see this lovely lady, Hella, thank you so much for your time today and for all you do for pickleball. It is amazing. I love listening to you. Thank you again.
Thank you
you,
so
Hella.
much. Thanks, Tony and CJ. I love it. Thank you.
All right. So, man, she's awesome, isn't she? I could sit there and listen to her all day.
Yeah. Get my board. I want my board, and I want to do the board off. It'd be
Well,
so much fun just to explore different ideas and angles and concepts on the board. It's just amazing.
well, and I do have to tell you, one of the fun things, Jeannie, who's in a lot of my uh, videos, Jeannie and I went. Hella was in town, and we kind of go way back through multiple friends, and so Jeannie and I went over and did a lesson with Hella, and just when she takes you and she breaks you down on the court like that, it's just super fun seeing some of the things that she sees, and it's a great time. So if you want to hear more from Hella, you need to come to the summit, and I have to tell you right now, we're gonna have to jump off of this because we've got one more, right? We're talking to one of the best players.
Yeah, it's sort of, yeah.
We're talking to
Definitely,
one
definitely
of
one of the best players
we're
in the
talking to
history of
one of the
pickleball. Yeah.
best players in the history of pickleball in just a couple minutes, and he's waiting on us, and we don't want to keep him waiting. And by the way, he's going to be on the summit, so if you want to know who he is, we put the links in. You better join us. By the way, we'll be back here next Thursday for Pickleball Therapy Live, 4:30 Pacific Time, 7:30 Eastern. And you never know who's going to show up. See you next week.